Hey, everybody, welcome to our weekly workshop. Do this every Tuesday. Not every Tuesday, almost every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Welcome back from our little holiday break. So we do these almost weekly and then we post them to our YouTube channel. So last week, it wasn't last week, it was a couple of weeks ago, we finished our series on the VI text editor. Talked a lot about editing files at the command line and a couple of great tools for that. VI is really sort of the workhorse power tool for text editing at the command line. And if you're gonna have to do it a lot, then I highly recommend that you use VI. If you're just gonna edit files once in a while, then you can use Ed or some other simpler tool. But VI is really the most powerful one and the most versatile. So this week we're gonna move to the next module in our introduction to the command line interface. So now we're on module G. We're going to talk about processing text files, and the first lesson in that module is viewing text files. So we're going to just talk about a handful of commands that we use to view text files at the command line. Previously recorded videos are available at our YouTube channel, so you can find them at the URL posted here. Okay, so viewing text files. Pretty straightforward. Cat, head, tail, more or less. Those are the 5 commands we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to dig into some of the details. Since there's only 5 commands, and we have 20 minutes or more, I'm going to dig in a little bit, but still keep it short. Okay, so Linux has several commands for viewing text files, and you might say, why are there so many? And so I think we'll answer some of that today. A text file can be opened in Nano or VI for viewing, right? So you can use one of those text editors that we talked about before, but those aren't super efficient, right? You know, once you get into the editor, then you got to get out of the editor. And if you just want to, you know, quickly check the contents of a file, then those might not be the best. Or if you want to quickly like search for something, those might not be the best. They're a little, you know, they're intended to have more functionality. They're a little more heavyweight. So those might not be the best for just quickly taking a look at a text file. So the first command we're going to talk about is the cat command. The cat command will print the contents of a file to the command line interface, and the entire contents of the file just get dumped to the command line interface, and then you get dropped back at the command line. And that's really super handy when you have a file and you just have absolutely no idea what it is. Then usually you just cat it, right? Dump it to the command line. You see what's in it. You can see if it's a text file. You can see if it's a data file, and then you can use it for whatever you're going to do with it or not. So we'll see that in a second. And if you use cat with a -n option, then you get the line numbers, right? So here's the slide example of a cat command. So cat, so here he's catting const.txt, which is the constitution. So I'm going to go to my command line, and I don't have a big long file like the constitution to experiment with, so we're going to download it. And if you want to do this with me, you can do it too. If you just wget. So wget is a command that's used to grab files from websites. Wget, webget, and there is a text file of the Constitution at a U.S. government website, and I have provided a shortened URL to get to that file. So if you wget go.vacr.io/const.txt, const, short for Constitution. So wget go.vacr, Virginia Cyber Range.io/const.text. And what this is going to do is pull down, copy the Constitution, and it's not doing it. So I'm going to hit Control C, and I'm going to do that again. Oh, there, it worked that time. Odd. Okay. So yeah, so here I did a wget go.vacr.io/const.text, and this went through the process, right? So it resolved that URL, and then it download the file. Oh, I guess the file was moved permanently, got to redirect here. Then it finally found it and downloaded the file, saving to const.txt. So now if I do an ls, I have this new thing there, const.txt. And now I'm going to do what Matt Vogel did on a slide, which is I'm going to type cat const.txt. I used the tab key. I typed the first few letters and hit tab. If you recall, that will finish the line. And so I'm catting const.txt. And what it does is it dumps the entire contents of that file to the screen, right? All the way down here to the final amendment, Amendment 27. That's the very last thing in the Constitution. And it seems to have something to do with pay raises for senators. That's interesting. The cat command, you might think, gee, what does cat mean? What does cat stand for? Why do we use the term cat to dump things to the command line? And so let's take a look at the man page for cat. So remember, if you want to see details on any just about any command line tool, you can use the man pages. Man is short for manual. So I type in man cat, and here's the man page. The name of the utility is cat, and that's short for concatenate, which is not what most people use it for, right? Most people use it just to dump the contents of the file to the command line, but it actually, the original purpose of this tool is to concatenate files together, to take multiple files and turn them into one file. So cat will concatenate files and print them on standard output. And then if I look through the command page, I see there's all kinds of different switches, command line switches, and there's some examples here. So this is a pretty short man page, not a lot going on. The thing that most of this, you don't really see these used very often, these command line switches, except for this one. The number one, the -n is that's sometimes helpful. So if I cat const.txt, oops, I wanted to use the switch, right? So if I cat -n const.txt, now I get the line numbers, and we see that this went by really quickly, but it's 872 lines of stuff. And then the concatenate bit, if you look at my file system here, I have two files that I created just before we started here, file 1 and file 2. So if I cat file 1, I see the contents of file 1. If I cat file 2, I see the contents of file 2. Well, again, cat is used to concatenate files. So if I say cat file 1, file 2, if I can spell today, cat file 1, file 2, then they both get dumped out, right? So it concatenates the files. And if I wanted to take both of those together and dump them into file 3, then this command would concatenate file 1 and file 2. So it would merge those two files, and it would redirect the output to file 3. And so now if I cat file 3, there's my concatenated stuff. So cat is just an easy way to, first of all, dump the contents of a file to the screen. Again, that's what most people use it for. But the second thing it's used for is to take multiple files and merge them into a single file. And that's the cat command. Okay, and here's cat with the line numbers. So he scrolled back up, right? When you do this, you get it all dumped to the command line. So here's cat not in const.txt, but then he scrolled back up to get back all the way back here to line number 1. So I just, you can just scroll up in the terminal. Okay, so that's the cat command. The next one we're going to look at briefly is the head command. This looks at the head command gives you the first few lines of a file, right? By default, it's the first 10 lines, right? So you think, well, gee, the cat command, if I have a long file, it's going to dump the whole thing. And maybe what I really want to see was the very beginning of the file. And I didn't want the whole thing to go by, and I don't want to have to scroll back up 872 lines to get back to line number 1 of the Constitution. And so the head command gives me the top 10 lines by default. And then with head, I can also use the -n option. And you can probably think of what that's going to do. It's not going to provide line numbers. It's going to give me that many lines, right? So if I go back here and I say head const.text dash, or I won't do the dash n yet, head const.text. Okay, there's the first 10 lines of this file provided by usconstitution.net, and then there's some verbiage here, and here's the beginning of the preamble, right? We all remember memorizing the preamble in middle school, and but we didn't get the whole preamble here, right? We only got the first part of the preamble. So maybe I want to see the whole preamble. What I can do is I can say head dash n20 const.text. Okay, and now I got, instead of getting 10 lines, I got 20 lines, and now I get the important bits, right? The preamble. So that's head, that's the head command. And of course, we can take a look at the man page for the head command. There's some other options in here. But the thing that you're going to see the most is you might want to see more or less of the beginning of the file. So head, just a quick and easy way to see the first few lines of a text file. Okay, here's the examples, right? Head const.text, and then here's if I want to see more of it. Okay, so maybe I just want to see the end of the file. And you know, one way to see the end of the file is just to cat it, and I get everything, and I end up at the end of the file. So tail you may not see so much, but tail gives me the last 10 lines of a file. And if I use the dash n command, the dash n command line option, then I see the number of lines at the end that I asked for. So again, tail const.text. Oops, screw that up. I get the last 10 lines. So here we are down here on amendment 27. And if I want to see more than 10 lines, I can say dash n 20. I get the last 20 lines. Pretty straightforward. So that's the tail command. There's the examples, right? So again, cat gives me the whole file. Head gives me the first bit of the file. Tail gives me the last bit. Now we move on to the more command. So, so the more command gives me a little bit more functionality. So more kind of looks a little bit more like an editor, but it's not an editor. I can't edit files with more. I can just look at files, but it's a little bit more powerful because it doesn't just dump me at the command line. It doesn't just display some bit of the file and then dump me at the command line. It displays the beginning of the file, and then it gives me the opportunity to navigate towards the end of the file. And so the more command will show a file one screen at a time. You can move forward one screen by pressing the space bar. So a whole screen, move forward a whole screen by pressing the space bar. And you can move forward by one line using the enter key. And you can exit by using the Q command. When you get to the end of the file, then more is automatically going to exit. So you don't have to hit the Q if you advance the file all the way to the end. So here's the example, right? So if I do this, I say more const.text. So here I am in the file, and I see where I am in terms of the how much of the file I've observed, right? So I'm at 2%. So I'm at the first 25 lines or so of this 872 line file, and I can move forward a single line at a time just by hitting enter, right? So if I'm reading this, I might just want to hit, you know, if I'm one of these first people who just wants to kind of read a line at a time and advance it, I can just hit enter. Or if I want to advance a whole screen at a time, I can hit the space bar. And that's kind of helpful. So space, it's going to advance me by a whole screen. If I hold down the space, it's going to advance me a lot. That can be useful. And then you see when I wound up at the end of the line, or at the end of the file, it exited out. So I didn't hit Q, I just advanced all the way to the end of the file and then automatically exited. So those are the basics of the more command. And there's a little bit more to it. This is kind of helpful if I'm in more. So here I am, more const.text. There's some other things I can hit there's some other characters I can hit to get a little bit more functionality. So if I hit H gives me all the deets, right? So I can see what different commands I have at my disposal. And there's, whatever this is, a dozen or so, a little over a dozen. So spacebar again moves screen size, the next screen size of text. Z, it looks like does the same thing. Return gives me one line at a time. D or Control D, scroll K lines. I guess somehow I can designate what K is. And then Q exits. S skips forward. It's all about moving forward. Most of this is moving forward. You can do B to go backwards in text, but more is mostly about moving forward through a file. You can search for regular expressions. That's pretty useful. And I can start up, this is cool. I can start up an editor. So if I hit V, I can start up an editor. I can redraw the screen. So if the screen gets corrupted, I can hit Control L and redraw it. And I can move between different files. So if I want to, again, I can hit Enter. If I want to search, right, I can hit the slash key. This behaves very much like VI. If I want to search, I hit the slash key, bottom right corner of the keyboard next to Shift, and then I can type in the search term, right? So if I want to search for amendments, I can type that in, and it's going to skip me forward to where that word is in the text, and it must be in the here's amendments right here, right? So here's the first occurrence. And then I can find further occurrences by hitting the N key, and it's going to take me to another occurrence of the word amendments. It'd be nice if it highlighted that to make it easier to find. But it does do the search, so I can hit slash to search. Then if I hit next, every time I hit next, it's going to take me to the next occurrence of that particular word, right? So there's amendment 1. Well, that's giving way ahead. Amendment 6. So that's that's more. And then if I hit V, it's now it looks like I'm in VI all of a sudden. No, maybe I'm not. So that's odd. The help said that if I hit V, then it was going to take me to VI, but it doesn't seem to have done that. Oh, I guess it did. Yeah, I guess it did. I am in VI now. So if I just hit the colon and now I go into VI mode. So now maybe I want to quit. And when I quit, now I'm back into more. So that's okay. So I hit V, and now I'm in VI, and I can do things like I can insert stuff. So if I hit I, now I'm inserting. And I could save that, or I could quit. If it says there's no right since the last change, I just inserted something. So I hit Q, exclamation point. When I exit VI, now I'm back in more. And if I hit Q, I'm going to exit out all the way. Okay, so that's the more command. And it's kind of useful. It's kind of useful, but I'll tell you that more has been deprecated. More is an older utility. It's still there. In just about every Linux version, you still find the more utility. It's still there because there's lots of old school sysadmins who are just used to using more, and they continue to want to use it, so it's still there. The newer, faster, smarter version is less. And so the less command, it behaves kind of similarly to more, but you'll see that it's got a little bit better functionality. First of all, it uses, it opens the file just like more does, and you can move forward in a file a line at a time or a screen at a time, just like the more command. So I use the spacebar and the enter key, same. You can also use page up and page down and the arrow keys to move through a file. Okay, so in more, you can't do that. In more, you cannot page up, page down, arrow key to move around in the file. With less, you can page up, page down. you can use arrow keys to move around. You can also use the home key commands that you use in VI, right? You can use the HJKL commands to move up, down, left, right, just like in VI. So if you're a VI user and you go into less, it's the look and feel is very similar. You can move around just using those home key characters. And you can exit less by pressing the Q key. Here's an interesting addition. If you want to see line numbers, if you want to see line numbers, use the cat command with the -n option, and then you can pipe that into less. Right. So let me just show less here quickly. Less const.text. Okay, now I can easily move up and down. So this is easier to use. I can page up, page down, page up. So the navigation is a lot easier. I'm not just advancing forward through the file. I can move up and down. I can do the H just like I could in more, and you see there's lots more commands here, right? So I can move forward, move backward. I can use the home key commands to move around. I can move forward one window. I can move backward. I can use left, right arrow, etc. I can search, so it's got better search functionality. We'll take a look at the search here in a second. It actually highlights the text that you're searching for, which makes it a lot easier to actually find the stuff that you're looking for. I can jump around in the file, so I can jump to the first line of the file, jump to the last line of the file, similar to how you can do it in VI. I can change files, right? So I can go to a different file. I can edit a file, so edit the current file with VI or an editor. And then there's some command line options that let me do some different things. So less has got a lot more functionality than more does. And I'm sure they call it less just as a whatever play on words kind of a thing. So if I hit Q, now I'm back to the file itself. So now I can hit V, and now I'm in an editor, right? This has taken me to Nano, but now I can go in here and add lines, add another amendment if I want. Now, shouts, and then if I exit the editor, hit Control X, I can either save it or not. I'm not going to save it, and this takes me right back to less, right? So that's kind of helpful. I mentioned I could search now, so if I hit search, I can search on the word section. Now, when it takes me to that next occurrence of that word, it's going to highlight the next occurrence and put it at the very top of the screen. Then if I hit N, it's going to take me to the next occurrence. And then I can search for something else, amendments, and now it's going to highlight every occurrence. So it's just a little bit more refined version of more. If you're not already a more user, then I would sort of forget about it and just use less. That bit about line numbers, right? I said something about line numbers. If you want to see the line numbers, use the cat command with the -n option. Okay, so the less command has more functionality than the more command, and so if you're not a more user already, I wouldn't use it. I would just stick to the less command. It's the better tool. And here's this bit in the slide about if you want to see line numbers, you can use the cat command with the -n option, and then you can pipe that into less, and then you can maneuver around just like I was doing before, right? So I could go to, I could do cat -n const.text to get the line numbers, and then I can pipe that into less, and now I get all the same functionality of the less command. I can move up and down, page up, but I also get the line numbers, which can be helpful for certain things, especially if you're like editing a configuration file for a service like you're editing the SSHD config file or a HTTPD config file. Sometimes it's useful to have the line numbers so you can refer back to things that you modified in case you need to change them back and forth. Okay, and That's it. So, okay, so that's all. Those are the basic commands for maneuvering around and viewing files in at the command line in Linux. And just as a reminder, this lesson and this course is Introduction to the Command Line Interface by Matt Bogle at Tidewater Community College. And we're in module G. So today we did viewing text files, and next time we will be parsing text files. And so I look forward to it. See you next week. Thanks.